Well, good morning. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Back at it with you this morning, and plenty to tackle from yesterday. You can get those headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning. It is real simple. Just go to thecentersquare.com and you can get the newsletter in your inbox simply by registering and signing up. It's free. So make that happen. Again, go to thecentersquare.com and you'll see the latest headlines from not just Illinois, but across the country, including Senate Democrats voting again to block the budget. You've got Trump telling Democrats to stop the madness after 3 weeks of a government shutdown. So clearly things are continuing to intensify in Washington, D.C. And how does that impact us here in Illinois? Obviously, you've got the ongoing issue of SNAP funding that's causing a lot of consternation. And November 1st, if the shutdown persists, 1.9 million people in Illinois could lose access to food subsidies. So you've got that at play. You've also got the U.S. Supreme Court getting more briefs on the issue of the National Guard and whether or not the Trump administration can use them for instance, law enforcement type of activities or keeping federal agents and property safe. So we've got a lot to tackle this morning, including Governor J.B. Pritzker in front of a group of people in Chicago, the Economic Club of Chicago, and talking about a variety of things, including saying that he is not for open borders and that he is a capitalist. So stay tuned. It's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell and wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily.
Governor Pritzker in Illinois is putting his people in danger every day by going against us and not working with us.
I'll tell you, the Democrats are not for open borders. I think that, we are not. Look, you don't have a country if you don't have a border.
It's Governor J.B. Pritzker talking yesterday in front of a group of people in Chicago about a variety of things, including responding to Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who earlier this week said that Pritzker is not working with the federal department to go after the worst of the worst. It is Illinois in Focus Daily with you each and every weekday morning. I'm Greg Bishop, the editor of Illinois at the Center Square. Get the latest headlines at the Center Square for more. And we've got the ongoing issue of the National Guard and whether or not the Trump administration is going to be able to use the National Guard for public safety purposes, especially when it comes to the issue of ICE enforcement and public safety around that. Now, of course, we had the No Kings rally on Saturday across the country, including tens of thousands of people in Chicago that rallied against President Donald Trump. And a whole host of speeches made. Some were, fair criticism. Others may have been what some consider over-the-top criticism. And in particular, you've got one speech that the Department of Homeland Security highlighted and then posted a heavily produced video alongside of it, and this is from their X account. We'll pull this up. It says, during the No Kings rally in Chicago this previous weekend, violent rioters called for the cold-blooded murder of ICE agents. This rioter and his statements have been referred to the DOJ. There is no place in America for psychotic incitements of unlawful violence against ICE or CBP. To those who threaten violence against us, we will hunt you down, we will find you, and justice will be served. So here is that video that they shared.
You gotta grab the guns! We gotta turn around the guns on this fascist system! These ICE agents gotta get shot and wiped out!
All right, today we're going to talk about how we can find out and how much we can find out. The more you f*** around, the more you're going to find out.
All sirens, heavy fat, pop, I got clicks of white ice in my right, nice, and I'm doing
So obviously, there's some interesting criticism that can be made about the federal agency using such imagery, and you will hear a lot about that, I'm sure, if that continues. But that is the Department of Homeland Security's response to this particular statement. And some people online have found out who that person may have been. So clearly that we may see some more develop from that. But ultimately, yesterday, you had Governor J.B. Pritzker responding to Kristi Noem. And here's what Noem said. We heard this yesterday when she stopped down in Sarasota, Florida, yesterday rather Monday, to talk about safety, public safety, federal agencies' actions, about immigration. So here is Noem from Monday.
Here in Sarasota, it's been fantastic. Here in Florida, it's been amazing. But you go into other communities and other states, and many times those governors are political. Those leaders in those towns. Portland's a great example of the mayor who chooses to play politics instead of keeping his citizens safe. Governor Pritzker in Illinois is putting his people in danger every day by going against us and not working with us to make sure that we're detaining individuals who have criminal charges against them or have been convicted.
Actions. And she said, listen, everybody who's a crime victim is impacted by that crime, regardless of how minor that crime is. So clearly a lot of back and forth continues between the federal agency and a state like Illinois. So Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked yesterday in front of the Economic Club of Chicago about Kristi Noem's comments. And the governor said that he's not an open border Democrat, and he doesn't think Democrats are for open borders.
Let's keep them in. What is ICE doing? Please go after the worst of the worst. That is not what they're doing. The president said he was going after the worst of the worst. ICE says they're going after the worst of the worst. You think that kid who got zip-tied, the little kids who were zip-tied at that South Shore building, you think those are the worst of the worst? The woman that came out of the city of Waukegan City Hall, she the worst of the, she's a U.S. citizen who did nothing wrong. And there are plenty of examples of that. That is what my objection is with what they're doing. My objection is not having an immigration enforcement mechanism. My objection is the way they're doing it. They are breaking all of the protocols and rules that normally apply to police in this country. And we're just sitting back and allowing it to happen is not right.
So the governor explaining that he's not an open border politician, but you've got the ongoing question of immigration enforcement and just how exactly that is supposed to happen in the United States, especially when a state like Illinois has the Trust Act and a Way Forward Act. And the governor says that he's not for open borders.
I'll tell you that Democrats are not for open borders. I think that, we are not. Look, you don't have a country if you don't have a border. So we have borders for reasons, and there's nothing wrong with having a border. And what's wrong is that we haven't had comprehensive immigration reform that would allow somebody who, and I think we all know somebody like this, who is in this country, however they ended up in the country, undocumented, been here for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, maybe raised a family here, has held a job and paid their taxes, and have followed the law their entire time here. And they're your neighbors, they're your friends, they're people who serve you when you go into a restaurant, or they're running a place themselves. These are people that I believe that these are the exact people that we should be inviting into the country. They're already here. Why can't we have a system that says those people can stay?
So the governor advocating for some kind of immigration reform, and he's talked about that in the past, but what that looks like clearly is still up in the air. He says that there were bipartisan efforts in the past to do this, never advanced. It seems like immigration reform is always a political football that is used every 2 years in every presidential election about we're going to bring about immigration reform, but it hasn't happened. And you've got the law as it is in place right now where it's illegal and an offense that can be not just detainable, but lead to the deportation of somebody if they're in here illegally. And that's the law of the land. And you've got enforcement of that under the Trump administration increasing after the Biden administration had practically open borders. I mean, it wasn't just people coming through ports of entry. It was people crossing outside of ports of entry and just being allowed to come on in. Then you had the whole issue of non-citizens crossing the border into border communities that were flooded with tens of thousands of people within a week, and the community's only about 1,500 people, so you could see the resources were stretched way thin. So people in Texas sent non-citizens to places like Illinois. Why? Because Illinois is a sanctuary state with policies in place that prohibit local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration officials. And some at the State House are thinking of expanding the state's sanctuary policies to, for instance, make sure that campus police are considered law enforcement that can't cooperate with immigration officials, to possibly say that you can't have immigration enforcement at county courthouses. A Cook County judge recently ruled that and ordered that for the Cook County Jail, but could that possibly be something that's spread out across Illinois? Sanctuary policies could come up during fall veto session whenever legislators return next week to Springfield. Governor J.B. Pritzker last week was asked about the possibility of expanding the state's sanctuary policies, and here's what he had to say.
Well, I know the legislature is looking at that, and I certainly have heard of a few bills that might move. But look, there are limits to what a state can do. There just are. And this situation really hasn't arisen since the Civil War. So I find it, challenging. It is a challenge that constitutionally difficult to overcome, but I do think the courts are assisting us, and private attorneys that are coming in and filing suit, like the TRO that limits what ICE is doing, are assisting us, and we may be able to make tweaks to the law to protect people better in the state. Although, as you know, I think we've done a pretty good job of Trump-proofing the state as best we could.
So the governor's saying that there could be some tweaks. We'll see what ultimately happens. You had the House Speaker last week say that they're going to be talking with attorneys to see exactly if the language is appropriate. Republicans, though, say that the state sanctuary policies need to be reversed. Here is Homer Glenn Republican Patrick Sheehan.
The sanctuary policies, I think, need to be absolutely repealed. The Trust Act needs to be repealed. We've seen the misdirection of the Chicago Police Department and local law enforcement. They're not sure what to do. When you take away the instinct from a police officer, you've completely broken how law enforcement operates. We're the ones that hold the line. When someone calls law enforcement for help, we go. We just go. And when you have an officer second guess themselves on whether their order is illegal or not, that puts not only the officer in danger, but that puts communities and its citizens in danger as well.
How's this going to play out? We'll be watching next week at the Illinois General Assembly's fall veto session. Final 3 days that they have scheduled this year. So before the holidays, they're going to come back and have 3 days of high-flying activity. Could there be conversations about expanding the state's sanctuary policies? We'll be watching. So I think that's why you need to be sure to tune in and subscribe each and every weekday morning for Illinois in Focus Daily live. Here, either in my mobile studio or at the home studio or at the Capitol. We'll do what we can to keep you guys updated. But go to thecentersquare.com and sign up for the newsletter and get this podcast wherever you get podcasts. It is Illinois in Focus Daily.
Absolutely foursquare opposed to a head tax for the city of Chicago. It penalizes it penalizes the very thing that we want, which is we want more employment in the city of Chicago. People, sometimes say, oh, Democrats, they're all socialists. There's some people who say that. I don't know, I'm a capitalist.
It's Governor J.B. Pritzker in front of the Economic Club of Chicago yesterday, where he sat down for a solid hour, taking all kinds of questions, including being asked about Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's proposal for a head tax. The governor saying he opposes it. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning here for Illinois at the Center Square. Go to thecentersquare.com and sign up today for the newsletter, and you'll get headlines in your inbox each and every morning. Weekday mornings, we're here with you live for Illinois in Focus. If you can't catch the show live, totally understand. Plenty of people sounding off on these issues in the live chat on YouTube. But you can also get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. It's one of the top news podcasts of Illinois because we do deep dives. We go into the issues that you're hearing and seeing, the quotes from the sources themselves. You're getting a general idea of what's going on in the state of Illinois, especially when we go back to fall veto session next week. It's going to be important to stay tuned to how your tax dollars are being used, what kind of oversight there is of government agencies and such, and the politics of all of it. So clearly, if you want to stay plugged into what's going on in Illinois, be sure to subscribe here with the Center Square and Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, so several things to tackle. The governor, wide-ranging interview. He sat down with a theater critic from a Chicago newspaper, and an interesting conversation in front of the Economic Club of Chicago because the governor's on that board, and he's a philanthropist, being a billionaire. $3.6 billion. He helps fund all kinds of different nonprofit groups. A whole host of different money going all kinds of places. You donate tens of millions to one nonprofit, and then that nonprofit funnels money to other nonprofits, and some criticize it as money laundering. Either way, it's used for a lot of different liberal type of politics. But the governor in front of the Economic Club of Chicago was asked about the Chicago mayor's head tax. So Chicago's got a budget issue where they're $1 billion plus in the red for the upcoming budget. Chicago's budget is to the calendar year, so they have to have something passed before January 1st. It's different than the state's budget year, which starts July 1st. So here we are with the mayor having proposed his budget, and he's looking for, quote, progressive revenue. He says he's talking to state leaders to try to get that progressive revenue. But one thing he proposed is having a cloud tax that not too sure what that's going to be yet. But he also proposed a head tax on employees. So if an employer has more than 100 employees, they pay a tax per employee. And Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about that yesterday and said that he is adamantly opposed to that idea. Here's the governor in front of the Economic Club.
I am absolutely foursquare opposed to a head tax for the city of Chicago. It penalizes the very thing that we want, which is we want more employment in the city of Chicago. And it makes it very hard to attract companies from outside of Chicago to come into Chicago, and harder for companies that are in Chicago to stay. And we're a state that had a bad reputation. And when I came into office, and I've spent 6.5 years trying to turn that reputation around, balance our budgets, attract businesses, create incentives for businesses, cut taxes, do everything that I could possibly do to attract new businesses and to keep businesses here, not just here, but growing here, expanding here. When they decide they want to do something new, I want them to do that here and not say, well, yeah, we've got our facility here, but the next facility we're going to build somewhere else. So that's, I think, all of our jobs in government, right? We need more jobs. And FYI, you're talking, this is in the context of trying to balance a budget. There are three things and knobs you can turn, let's say, to balance a budget, right? One of them is you can cut expenditures. Another one is you can raise taxes, raise revenues that way. And the third one, and this is the one I prefer, is grow the economy, because your revenues increase if you grow the economy, right? And it helps you pay for the things that you think really matter. And so those are all three knobs that can be turned, but the economic growth one is the best for everybody. And so I think we ought to be focused on that most of all. But you got to balance the budget, there's no doubt about it. I prefer growing the economy to the other two methods.
Now, the governor has increased taxes on Illinoisans every year he's been in office, and one in particular, doubling of the state's gas tax in 2019. You've got increased gambling taxes, increased tobacco taxes, increased taxes on corporations, and I think some have pegged all of these like 50 some odd tax and fee increases. Plus, the governor has increased state spending considerably, 40+% since he's been in office. So higher taxes, the state's population for a decade, lost population. We lost seats in Congress over several decades because of declining population, and seems to have stagnated, at least for the last year, where we had more inbound people from other countries than we had people coming in from other states. People were moving to other states. That was offset by international migration into Illinois. That was just the last year's estimate. So we'll see what happens with new estimates in the future here. But clearly, Illinois has a host of issues. But the governor says he's not a socialist. He's a capitalist. And he believes in growing the economy to raise revenue for the state and local governments rather than increasing taxes. But does that match with what he's done over the past 6.5, 7 years? The governor, that's just one issue he talked about, the issue of the Chicago head tax proposal. But they opened up the Q&A with the question from the moderator that touched on a story of top story from last week, the governor's taxes that the Chicago Tribune reported on, and how much he made in gambling. But just an interesting way to kind of start the conversation yesterday in front of the Economic Club of Chicago.
It's a question about the odds. So I thought I'd ask it from one blackjack player to another blackjack player. There is
long odds
of different scales, I might add.
Now, that story's got a lot of reaction about the governor saying that he was with friends in Las Vegas and won $1.3 million or $1.4 million. Republicans say that just shows the governor's out of touch with the common man. You had Republican candidates for governor, Ted Dabrowski make that point, Darren Bailey make that point, Jim Mendrick, Sheriff DuPage County, also looking to get the GOP nomination for governor to take on Pritzker in 2026. He said that it shows that Pritzker treats his money like it's monopoly money and, again, is out of touch. So how that continues to play out in the political space, we'll see, but an interesting question to start off there. But the governor also touched on a variety of other things, including whether or not Chicago is going to get the DNC again, the Democratic National Convention for 2026, and is 2028, and is Governor J.B. Pritzker running for office?
And we've had more conventions than any other state. So I'm hopeful that they will, in fact, and that we will be able to host them again. But again, it takes a lot of organization. There's a whole lot between here and there. I just didn't want the convention folks to think that we're not in the running for 2028. More business, more people coming here. That's a great thing for the city and for the state.
But is he running for president?
The second part of the question is, I'm running for governor of Illinois.
And he's said that over and over again when asked if he's going to run for president. I think a lot of people just fully anticipate that when that time comes in 2028, the governor is going to make that announcement, and we'll see just how that goes. More from the governor. He was asked about the pension bill that he signed for the city of Chicago, and that bill, critics say, sweetens pensions for public safety, first responders. And the governor says that it's not a pension sweetener and criticized Chicago, who, after the fact, came out and said that they opposed it because it would cost the city of Chicago tens of millions of dollars and put them further behind the ball when it comes to getting their finances in order. And the governor was critical of Chicago for not speaking up faster about that particular bill. But even if they did, the measure passed overwhelmingly in the General Assembly.
It got passed nearly unanimously with a veto-proof majority. So let me just point that out when it landed on my desk. Number two, it was not a sweetener. You call it a sweetener. It was not a sweetener. These are the things that were promised to police and promised to firefighters. We already delivered for the firefighters. Are we not going to deliver for the police? And by the way, these are people I think all of us believe deserve to be paid what they've been promised. They do an unbelievably hard job, and they deserve it. It was not a sweetener. It was something that they were owed. And the city of Chicago has acknowledged that over many, many years. And one more thing, not a single time during the entire legislative session when this was being debated did the city of Chicago weigh in with their view. I'm talking about from January to May, we heard not a peep from the city of Chicago on this subject. So, the idea that that the city was opposed to doing this and that the state did something that the city government didn't want to have done, I don't think is
Apologize about that. Live to tape, ladies and gentlemen. So the governor, he talked about Chicago, talked about the pensions, said that, critical of Chicago not speaking up enough about the pension sweetener, as critics call it, for first responders. It's going to cost the city of Chicago a whole bunch of money. Just got a text from somebody saying no sound. Appreciate you guys being on top of it. So, back at it. You've got the ongoing question of the pension and the veto-proof majority, and the governor said that he had no choice but to enact that. But the governor was also asked about national issues. You have the issue of redistricting, which we focused on, for like 2 or 3 weeks back in August, if you recall. And that's all stemming from Texas wanting to redistrict, and they had the Texas Democrats flee Texas to avoid that vote. Some came to Illinois, and the governor was talking about how the president in redistricting is him telling states to do it's bad, but these are all political calculations, and there is redistricting that happens every year after the census. Every 10 years, rather, after the census, but mid-cycle redistricting is very rare. States have the authority to do this. It's not illegal. They can change the districts however they want, but Democrats opposed that, and they're looking at redistricting in California. There's efforts to probably redistrict Illinois more, which is interesting because Illinois is a very gerrymandered state. It's been given an F grade by civic organizations, and it's unclear if they could gerrymander it anymore because of the 17 U.S. representatives we have, only 3 are Republican. Can they squeeze those Republicans out anymore? It's something I guess we'll see if that's what they want to do. Are they going to address this during fall veto session, or are they going to come back early January and redistrict? We shall see, which is interesting here because, we're already up against the filing deadline for the candidates who want to be on the 2026 ballot. So how's this going to play out? The governor, again, talking about this yesterday in front of the Economic Club of Chicago.
I don't think any of it's good. I don't want to do it for the state of Illinois. I don't think we should redistrict here. I have to say, though, that we live in, the most dangerous times that I can remember when it comes to preserving our democratic institutions. They are breaking them down everywhere what should we do? Should we just sit back and let it happen? What is it? I don't know what the right answer is, but I can tell you I'm not going to sit back and let it happen. I don't know that we should redistrict in Illinois, but I wonder if we should all say, well, it's okay, that Texas has done it, but it's not okay if California does it. And yeah, I don't like the results that you're describing either.
And the governor, again, hedging there, saying that, Republican states are doing this. Some Democrat states want to do it. Does Illinois want to do it? Again, be sure to subscribe. We'll keep you updated on what happens each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus daily. And also you can get the headlines in your inbox at thecentersquare.com. Just sign up for the newsletter. Other issues the governor was asked about, again, in front of the Economic Club of Chicago, tons of issues, national issues, state issues. One thing that was asked up in Chicago, you've got the CTA, and their regional transit authorities facing a $200+ million fiscal cliff, possibly going to see some tax increases of some kind or possible fare increases for riders of mass transit in Chicagoland. How that's going to play out, again, fall veto session starts again next week, final 3 days. What are they going to do about that? But all that comes as you've got the federal government freezing more than $2 billion for Chicago Transit Authority expansion projects. And they froze that money, saying that they are looking into what the federal government alleges is discriminatory contracting practices, using diversity, equity, and inclusion, saying that that violates federal law and is discriminatory. Plus, could lead to potential waste and timing issues to get projects done. So the federal government froze those dollars, so that they could review that contracting. Pritzker was asked about that in the context of regional transit funding altogether, and here's the governor addressing that.
All I can say is, yeah, you can't build it without the $2+ billion that was supposed to come from the federal government, because there's no way for the state to make up for the money, or Chicago to make up for the money. And that's true about a whole lot of things, I might add, that the federal government is walking away from. And it made promises, and it appropriated money, and it is under the law, and they walked away from these things. And they did it, so illegally, in my view, and they did it, the President of the United States did it for partisan reasons only. That's what he's done across the country.
Now, the governor saying that Trump did this for partisan reasons, but again, I laid out that the Trump administration said that they're reviewing the funds because they feel that there could be discriminatory contracting practices with the city of Chicago. And to wrap things up, the governor talked about economics a bit more, and he said that he's not a socialist. He is a capitalist.
I believe that we need to grow our economy. People, sometimes say, oh, Democrats, they're all socialists. There's some people who say that. I don't know, I'm a capitalist. I think that more money made by all of you, more jobs you create, that's good for everything about the state of Illinois.
A lot said during that hour-long conversation. This was just a little smidgen of what was discussed. So you can find that entire conversation either at the governor's Facebook page or the Economic Club of Chicago streamed it as well. A lot said. I would encourage you, if you've got time during dinner or something while you're making the rounds, whatever you got to do, to listen into that. But again, we'll bring you the latest here each and every weekday morning for Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, subscribe, hit that notification bell, get the headlines in your inbox, go to thecentersquare.com, and wake up with us here for Illinois in Focus Daily. Again, did it again, unmuted. I'm sitting here talking. You guys are... It's a good thing I got the live stream chat room pulled up as you guys finish out the show. But no, appreciate you being here. Thank you for your patience. It's an interesting experience doing the show from the mobile rig, working out the kinks and making sure that I have my microphone on whenever the heater comes on. I gotta make sure that's turned off. So we'll hit it. We'll get it right. Somebody suggested in the comments I need a blooper reel. All right, that makes sense. All right, have yourselves a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Don't forget, fall veto session next week. So you definitely want to subscribe and get those headlines in your inbox. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow for more Illinois in Focus Daily.